All right. Back again, this time to talk about the Articles of Confederation. What a joy that's going to be. Um, we're not going to go into a whole lot of detail because I know that you guys remember a lot of this stuff from government class last year. But just a reminder, the Articles of Confederation, which only lasted until 1787, was a very weak form of government where the states were given all the power. At the national level, there literally was no executive or judicial branch. The states, regardless of their size, only had one vote at the national level. And in order to actually amend the articles, which became pretty necessary after a short amount of time, it was going to take a all 13 of the states to amend the articles. So, not easy. The federal government could do very few things, but probably the most glaring weakness was the fact that they could not tax the citizens. So, where it says continuing financial crisis, if you are in debt, it's not good if you have no steady revenue. And that was the federal government of the Articles of Confederation. So they started to sell off Western land. You will see one of the biggest successes of the Northwest Ordinance of the Articles of Confederation was the Northwest Ordinance, which kind of outlined a process for surveying Western land so that it could be sold, and then figuring out what criteria states had to meet or Western territories had to meet in order to apply for statehood. You'll actually see if you go to Google Maps and you just zoom in on a random location in, say, Delaware or Maryland, um, it's going to look far different than if you zoom in on a location like we're talking satellite view in, say, Ohio or Indiana. Because in states that were not part of the original 13 colonies, they are very clearly surveyed in these 36 square mile blocks. So it's kind of interesting to look at a Google map and see that. But um, there were a lot of issues with the articles, as I had just mentioned. But the issue that made Americans realize that they not only was the government too weak to provide financial stability for its citizens, but the government was too weak to protect its citizens. There was an event led by Daniel Shays called Sheas Rebellion. I'll put up some of these facts because you can't really see the bottom of it, unfortunately. But Sheas Rebellion occurred in the state of Massachusetts when a lot of different farmers lost land. Their farms were foreclosed on because Massachusetts had increased taxes. There's a little bit more to this story than that I'm not going to get into on this video because it's not necessarily important why the rebellion occurred. The significance is the fact that you have a bunch of angry armed farmers leading a rebellion, and the Articles of Confederation government could do nothing about it. And so people felt unsafe, and people began to think, if an army of farmers who are mad about their farms being foreclosed can create this many issues, what would happen if, like, say, the British were to start causing problems, or the French, or the Spanish, or heck, even Native Americans? Like, what would we do in response to a real threat, something more significant than just Massachusetts farmers? And that made people really worried. And so the powers that be in colonial America, and we'll talk a little bit more about those folks in the next slide, got together in 1787 with the mindset of maybe we can revise the Articles of Confederation. But the reality was they had too many weaknesses to be revised. And so um, what we'll see in the next video is that the founding fathers, the framers, if you will, got together in 1787 in Philadelphia to draft a new constitution. So we'll see you for that video in just a couple of minutes.